And we're live.
Okay, yeah, here I am. My name is Maitreyabandhu. We're just setting up for, I'm going to do a puja, a short ritual, but we'll come to that in a minute. Yeah, so we're just setting up. We've got the crew here from my community. We all live together upstairs, as you've heard probably quite a few times by now, those of you who've been tuning in. And I don't know how I'm going to do that. Okay, let's just put that there, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to go live in a few moments. Amal Yodin's just been teaching meditation. I've just been watching you upstairs in the community. It was really good, wasn't it? Really, really good. Yeah, really good. It's very lovely to see. So I don't know whether anyone's tuning in yet.
15 people.
Oh, that's good. 15 people Wednesday night. Full moon tonight. So what I'm going to be doing, I'll say what I'm going to do in a minute. Just make yourself comfortable, get what you need. And I'll start properly at 8:15. It's a bit of an experiment this, but we'll see how it goes. Anybody that we know showing up?
Judith from the Wednesday team, Judith Sunderland.
Oh yeah, hi there Judith, hi there, hello.
We've got Kanahaya and the Manchester Buddhist Center, Hillary.
Oh good, hi there Hillary, good to see you. Well, I can't see you, but good to have you here. Yes, this is a bit of an experiment, as I say, so let's see how it goes.
Richie's saying hello.
Hello, Richie. How you doing? Good to see you. Richie was in my study group. Yesterday we were doing a Zoom study group. Yesterday, lots of us here at the London Buddhist Centre are, running groups and doing it on Zoom. I'm sure lots of you are doing all kinds of meetings on Zoom. It's weird, isn't it, Zoom? You didn't hear about it until the day before yesterday, and suddenly now we're all saying, do you want to Zoom? It's becoming, it'll be in the Oxford English Dictionary by now. So hello Richie.
Hello from Sargent.
Oh, hello Sergeant, that's good. I just saw your comment about the dogs barking. You have to not react to it. You know that already. Anyway, nice to see you. Well, nice to have you here, Sergeant. Hope you're doing all right. Not so far away, are you? Hope Sue's all right.
We've got a couple of people in Italy, in Rome and North Italy, and we have someone from New York saying hi, Nina in New York.
Well, hello Nina, that's great that you appeared from New York. I got a letter, an email from somebody from rural America just today, just this morning, saying how much she was appreciating what we've been doing here. So I find it really inspiring that, people up here from Italy, from Rome, from New York. It's just fantastic. So welcome. It's really good.
We've got 55 people watching now.
Oh, good. That's great.
And
That's
Anna
great.
Norbury from the team is.
Oh, hello Anna. Yeah, good to see you. It's interesting. As I do this, I do sort of see you, even though I can't see you. There is a sense of, isn't there? I don't know whether you're noticing this thing that even though you're tuning in from Rome and New York and Shrewsbury and just down the road and upstairs sometimes, there is a bit of a sense, isn't there, of coming together. For me, it's been a bit of a miracle. I didn't expect that. I thought it would feel much more false than that, much more constructive than that. But it does feel like a community, I think. Okay, we've got a minute before we go live. Live properly. We're now live, but before we really do what we need to do. And we've unplugged, we need to unplug the power so it doesn't buzz. So I'll probably jump to it there. Can we see the shrine in the shot? Yeah. Okay, so let's start. My name is Maitreyabandhu. I'm doing this live from the London Buddhist Centre in Bethnal Green, London, 8:15. It's April the 8th, and it's a full moon. So in the Buddhist tradition, it's always tradition, and the Buddhist tradition is always a tradition, is a tradition in the Buddhist tradition, to do a ritual, a puja, it's usually called, the full moon night. And what we've been trying to do at the London Buddhist Centre for quite a while now is any night that we have a full moon, do a puja, a ritual, on the night of the full moon. I mean, probably the reason they did rituals in the very early days of on the full moon night is simply because you could see your way home. You know, it was light enough for you to come back at night. So it's probably as simple as that. It's nothing more mystical than that. But golly, for me it feels richer than that, and I hope it feels richer than that for you, because we're connected with the moon, aren't we? The moon affects the tide, it affects our mood sometimes. And I live in the heart of London. I come from the countryside, so although I've lived in London for many years, and it's so easy to lose contact with nature. We're very lucky we've got parks around us, although the main park has been closed. But I want that contact with the moon. I remember with one of my partner's daughter, when she was in a pram, wheeling her along in a buggy, and suddenly we turned the corner and there was a moon. And she just said, "Moon!" You know, that word, the moon, the word moon, and moon itself. Just this rhyme between the sight, the roundness of the moon, the brightness of the room, and this little girl saying moon, you know, moon. So when you see the moon, when you see the full moon, I still have, and I hope I always will have, and I'm sure you have, that sense, little sense, it might not last very long, of wonder, especially when you hadn't expected it, you know, when you come out of the tube station or turn a corner and there's the moon, the full moon, and you want to say that word, moon, as if there's some relationship between the word. Of course, I don't know it in French, or I don't know it in any other language, but and yet the word for moon so often conjures that. But there's that sense, isn't there, of, and as I say, it can be a slight sense of wonder, of pleasure, of a kind of reaching out to it. And you see how that's the beginning of ritual, in a way. That you want to say moon, you want to say stars, you want to say night and fire. You don't want to just look at them, because looking at them is an act almost of reverence. Particularly if you're in a good state, looking at the world itself can become like an act of reverence. Sometimes when I've been on solitary retreats, and I try and go on a solitary retreat every year, just sitting outside my solitary cabin and looking at the trees. As I look at them more and more, and as the light changes and as the moon comes out, I start to feel a kind of reverence. And I'm sure you felt that. I feel all of us human beings feel that. I think it's our birthright. I think it's something very important to us. And out of that sense of reverence and wonder and beauty, moon, out of that sense comes this instinct for ritual, comes this instinct for worship even. And when I first if you cut back to when I first came along to the Buddhist Centre when I was 24, 25, I went on a weekend retreat. And, you know, I expected meditation, I expected mindfulness, I expected people like me to sort of say, I don't know, goodly things. But I remember the first puja, the first ritual, the first act of worship I went to. I remember them turning the lights down, and I remember them lighting candles and suggesting that we make an offering of incense. I never expected that. And I was like, wow. You know, I was like, I didn't expect this. Now, my instinct to that was yes, immediately. I was brought up in the Church of England, but I never believed in God. I remember as a child trying to make myself believe in God. I remember going to see Godspell when I was a teenager, and I believed in Jesus at least for about a week. but I could never get myself to believe in God. So I didn't feel I had a sort of baggage of ritual and worship to get over. I know some people do. Some people who've had a very strong upbringing that's to do with theistic worship can find Buddhist ritual difficult. I never found that. I just felt, oh yes, dull the lights, light the candles, say verses, yeah. So sometimes people are really surprised in Buddhism to find that there is ritual and worship. But actually it's very, very important. It's not so much that it's important to Buddhism, it's important to us. I think we have that instinct. We want to worship. And not being able to worship is a distortion of us. If we don't worship something valuable, if we don't worship the beauty of the moon and the starry night and the fantastic blossom that we have all around us, we'll worship fame, or we'll worship sex appeal, or we'll worship money. Human beings have to worship something. And if you don't worship a good thing, you'll worship an unhelpful thing. But in Buddhist ritual, there's no God, there's no object out there, there's no man or whoever with a long beard that we're going to worship. But the act of is absolutely crucial. It's crucial to you as a human being, just as it's crucial to me. And what tradition has always done is say, okay, our instinct is to worship, is to look upon the world with reverence. And we don't want to lose that. Children have it. I remember Alex when she was singing Frere Jacques to her, and as soon as I sang, her eyes went wide, and she just sort of looked at me with a kind of, it wasn't a reverence for me, it was a reverence for this pound, yeah? So that instinct to worship, that instinct to revere, to put our hands together even, is deep in our blood and in our bones. And we don't want to get rid of it. We want to express it. And you'll probably find you particularly want to express it at times of difficulty. It's no surprise, isn't it, that people are still getting married. You don't need to get married. You don't need a ritual to get married. But people are still doing it in ever greater numbers, I believe. A funeral, you want a ritual. There's no actual logical reason for a ritual. If you really believe death is the end, and that human beings are like, I don't know, a clock that's just broken now, just chuck it in the bin. If you really believe that, when a human being dies, you chuck them away, because they don't exist anymore. But none of us could do that. None of us could chuck a body. We can't even put a body of a dog in a skip. I remember burying household pets when I was a child, and you want a ritual. And that's deep within us. No human being worthy of themselves is just, let's just chuck it away because it's bust now, it's broken now, yeah? So what's happened is ritual has got all caught up with an idea of a creator God, and of course Buddhism doesn't have that idea. What it says is, okay, let's create an image of our greatest value, our greatest need. Let's create an image for what our heart really yearns for, which is love, wisdom, beauty, radiance, divinity, really, effectively. Let's create that image for what our heart really yearns for. Let's light candles around it. Let's incense to it. Let's say verses to it. And that by doing that, I might start to feel a connection with what I yearn for more deeply, feel a kind of mythic connection, feel a kind of connection, a real connection of value. You see how drama and all that theatre and cinema all come from ritual. They come from this instinct to play act, to find value, to pretend in a way. Nothing wrong with pretending. You pretend, and then you can be deeply moved by being in touch with value. But you see how it comes from something very primal in all of us. It comes from the pleasure we get when we hear our own echo. It comes from the pleasure you get when you skim stones. It comes from that moment when you see the moon and something in you moves to revere it. Yeah? So what we're going to do now is we're just going to do a short ritual. It's a bit odd. We've got the four of us here, three guys from my community, and we all live together upstairs. So I'm going to lead the ritual in call and response. It's only short. It's only 3 verses. So I'll say the verse, and then the 3 guys here will respond. Will say the line back, and I'd like you, if you're willing to, if you want to say the line back as well. You might want to slightly mutter it under your breath if your flatmate's wondering what's happened. I don't know, whatever you want to do. But see if you can join in. If you've got a shrine at home, I know many of you have, candles, and instead of looking at the screen and me, look at your shrine, and let's just see if we can somehow, people are in New York, in Rome, all over the country. I don't know how many people are here now.
130.
Yeah, 130 of us, all over the place. I don't know where, but there's 130 of us, adding us like 134. There's 134 of us on this full moon night trying to do this ritual. So this is a good moment. Candles at home. If you haven't got a shrine, if you've got a candle in the room, just light it. Dim the lights down in your room. Try to dim them down here in the center. Then I'm going to say these verses, and I'll say a line and you repeat them. At the end of that, Matt here, he's doing the filming at the moment, he's going to start a mantra. Now the word mantra just means that which protects the mind. It's just a traditional name for the Buddha. And all this mantra is saying is basically saying his name. As soon as you say someone's name, you evoke them. Do you see, even when I was talking earlier about the moon, as soon as I say moon, you evoke it. Words and experience are strangely rhyming. One of the wonders of hearing another language is you hear another symbol pattern and it sort of rhymes with reality in a strange way. Yeah? So as soon as we say a name, Shakyamuni, it sort of conjures up this figure of beauty, of wisdom, of compassion, of boundless energy. So what you might do, if you've got a shrine, just look at your shrine, and then when you do the mantra, if you've got incense at home, you can make offerings at home. If you're shy doing the mantra out loud, you can just turn it over in your head. But do it out loud if you can. Just join in and see how it feels. And you can imagine, as you do the mantra, a figure of beauty, a figure of love, a figure endlessly loving and compassionate, kind of for you. Yeah? Just because you imagine him or imagine her, that what ritual is, and what we're doing tonight is an instance of the imagination, except for imagination reaches much, much further than you realize. The word imagination, it's got a ceiling on it. We won't allow it to go into mystical experiences. But some of us have had mystical experiences. I've had them myself. Imagination can take you much, much further than you think, much, much deeper than you think. So just close your eyes during the mantra and imagine as this really simple mantra that he's there, yeah? And then the mantra will die out, we'll die out here, then we'll just sit quietly for a moment or two, and then I'll ring the bell and I'll just say a few words before we finish. Yeah? So it won't take very long, but just if it might be the first time you've ever done it, I'm hoping for some of you it is the first time you've ever done it. But you know, don't you, that you need it, you want it. You want life to have ritual, mythic significance. You don't want it to be what I've once called the pornography of fact, the everyday, the commonplace in that kind of reduced, cheapened way. Life is much, much deeper than that. Okay. So, if you're sitting at at home, sitting at home, just get yourself as comfortable as you can. We're going to turn down the lights a bit more here. So, when you're ready, closing your eyes. As soon as you've closed your eyes, see if you can bring your awareness into your body. So the imagination that we're trying to discover within us, uncover within us, has its roots in the body. What we often mix it up with is fantasy, which is really to do with our head. So the more you can feel in contact with the body, with your weight of the body on the cushions or the chair, with your feet on the floor, so the more embodied you are, the more you'll give yourself a chance for your imagination to open out. And then just see if you can, again, just like you were, if you were meditating, soften your shoulders. And soften your belly. So the threefold puja in call and response. Firstly, opening reverence. We reverence the Buddha.
We reverence the Buddha,
The perfectly enlightened one.
the perfectly enlightened one,
The shower of the way.
the shower of the way.
We reverence the Dharma.
We reverence the Dharma,
The teaching of the Buddha,
the teaching of the Buddha,
which leads from darkness to light.
which leads from darkness to light.
We reverence the Sangha.
We reverence the Sangha,
The fellowship of the Buddha's disciples,
the fellowship of the Buddha's disciples,
that inspires and guides.
that inspires and guides.
Reverence to the three jewels. We reverence the Buddha
We reverence the Buddha
and aspire to follow him.
and aspire to follow him.
The Buddha was born as we are born.
The Buddha was born as we are born.
What the Buddha overcame,
What the Buddha overcame,
we too can overcome.
we too can overcome.
What the Buddha attained,
What the Buddha attained,
we too can attain.
we too can.
We reverence the Dharma
We reverence the Dharma
and aspire to follow it.
and aspire to follow it.
With body, speech and mind
With body, speech and mind
until the end.
until the end.
The truth in all its aspects.
The truth in all its aspects.
The path in all its stages.
The path in all its stages.
We aspire to study,
We aspire to study,
practice,
practice,
realize.
realize.
We reverence the Sangha
We reverence the Sangha
and aspire to follow it.
and aspire to follow it.
The fellowship of those who tread the way.
The fellowship of those who tread the way.
As one by one,
As one by one,
we make our own commitment
We make our own commitment.
An ever-widening circle.
An ever-widening circle.
The Sangha grows.
The Sangha grows.
Offerings to the Buddha. Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer flowers.
We offer flowers.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that today are fresh and sweetly blooming.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Flowers that tomorrow are faded and fallen.
Our bodies too, like flowers,
Our bodies too, like flowers,
will pass away.
will pass away.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer candles
We offer candles.
to Him who is the light.
To Him who is the light.
We offer light.
We offer light.
From His greater lamp, a lesser lamp we light within us.
From His greater lamp, a lesser lamp we light within us.
The lamp of Bodhi,
The lamp of
shining within our hearts.
shining within our hearts.
Reverencing the Buddha.
Reverencing the Buddha.
We offer incense.
We offer incense.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
Incense whose fragrance pervades the air.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
The fragrance of the perfect life.
Sweeter than incense.
Sweeter than incense.
Spreads in all directions.
Spreads in all directions.
Throughout the world.
Throughout the world.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni
Shakyamuni Swaha.
Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mahamuni Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Shakyamuni Swaha. Om Muni Muni Mani Shakyamuni Swaha. So that's nearly all we've got time for. Yes, I don't know how you experience that, but you might find the words, you don't particularly relate to the words or whatever, but I was thinking again about the experience of seeing opera. Sometimes I don't understand what they're singing about, but I'm deeply moved, I'm deeply affected. I was just listening upstairs to Verdi's Requiem. I don't know the Requiem, I'm not a Christian. I was very, very deeply moved by it. So you don't need to worry too much about the words. You instinctively, if you let yourself, you know what ritual's about. All you need to know if you're Buddhist is that it's not about God. But I want to finish, if we can. I'm sort of like everyone. I'm so struck by so much suffering around us. I mean, there is always so much suffering around us. I know that, and we're just seeing that more strikingly. But I thought I'd finish by just chanting something, which are the blessings, if I can find it in my Puja book. It's quite a traditional thing that for this chant to sort of bless. And I don't know whether I can bless, I don't know whether anyone can bless, but all of us are surrounded by blessings. If only we were open to it. The moon, the blossom, the blessing of her friends, the blessing of being well if we are well. So what I'll do is I'll finish this short introduction to ritual. I hope you've got a sense of something of a sense of the meaning and value of Buddhist ritual, and that Buddhists really value ritual, value worship, value magic and mystery, all those essential things that are so difficult to talk about. So what I'll do is I'll chant this in Pali on my own, and then I'll recite it in English, and then we'll finish there. And tomorrow night, Yanavatra and I are going to continue on with our parable of the burning house at 7 o'clock live stream tomorrow night. So I hope you'll join us for that. So once again, if you want to, you could sit down, close your eyes, and you can imagine that all of us here, I think there's how many now?
140.
140 people all over the world, all over the UK, but people someone's in New York, someone's in Rome, where else? People are all over. You can imagine that this is your blessing going out to your friends, to people who are in difficulty, to people helping those in difficulty directly, people putting themselves in difficulty to help those in difficulty. You can think like that. So close your eyes, imagine your own blessings and well-wishing going out to everyone. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakantu sabba devata sabba buddhane bhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang rakantu sabba devata sabba dhammanu bhavena sada suti bhavantu te. Bhavatu sabba mangalang sabba Mangala Sabba Sadhanu Bhavena Sadasati Bhavantu Te. Which means, I don't get the pronunciation wrong, which means, may all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all the Buddhas, may all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all dharmas, may all happiness be yours. May all blessings be yours. May all gods protect you. By the power of all the Sangha, may all happiness be yours.